Members of the jury, you may retire now to begin your deliberations.
Right now, the jury is deciding the fate of Casey Anthony. Both sides presented their closing arguments.
The only way Casey's lies work is if Kaylee isn't talking.
They gave you 2 weeks of testimony that was completely irrelevant and served only one purpose, and that was to paint Casey Anthony as a slut, as a party girl, as a girl who lies, and has absolutely nothing to do with how Kaylee died.
Then this morning, the prosecution ended its rebuttal with a question.
Whose life was better? There's your answer.
And that leads me to my question of the day. What is your verdict for first-degree murder? Send me your verdict on Twitter or Facebook, or call and talk to me. Here's the number, 877-TELL-HLN.
Good evening, I'm Vinnie Politan, live in Orlando, Florida, covering the Casey Anthony murder trial. The jury's first day of deliberations has concluded. They worked for 5 hours, 49 minutes, and 24 seconds without yet reaching a consensus. Moments ago, the judge sent them home. He sent them home to their hotels, and then the skies opened in Orlando. We've got a torrential downpour. Hundreds of people gathered outside the courthouse trying to get a glimpse of Jose Baez, Cheney Mason, Jeff Ashton. I'm Vinnie Politan. Welcome. Tonight, Judge Alex Ferrer, Meg Strickler join me here in Orlando. Meg Strickler, criminal defense attorney. The Honorable Judge Alex, you know who he is. The Judge Alex Show. We've got a big downpour. Any symbolism that there's a black cloud over Orlando tonight, Meg?
You gotta wonder. It's really interesting timing. The judge comes in and says, this is your first day of deliberating. He says, have a good night. Big cloud comes out over Orlando and explodes over here. Wow, it's kind of symbolic. And you know what, just to comment on Ashton and Linda Drain Burdick and Jose Baez, they have been on adrenaline buzz this whole trial. When you finish your trial, it's a crash. All three of them are not going to be able to see straight tomorrow or for next week.
We saw that crash as they exited the courtroom today. Judge Alex, let's talk about what's happening here at the courthouse. My goodness, hundreds of people now gathering, anticipating a verdict. We got word that Judge Perry was calling everyone into the courtroom. Everyone thought maybe a verdict. Everyone's rushing to the courthouse.
Yeah, and actually they didn't have much notice for that, so I can't imagine once there is a verdict and you're going to tweet about it and let everybody know, and I know how many fans you've got on Twitter, this place is probably going to be rocking when there's a verdict, and they better be ready for crowd control because that's going to be really important at that time.
Absolutely. So what does it mean? 5 hours, 49 minutes, 24 seconds, no verdict. What does it mean, Meg?
It means absolutely nothing. They have to elect a jury for a person. They've got to kind of collect their things and kind of get an idea of how they're going to deliberate. That's all they did today. They had lunch and they kind of said, all right, here's what we're going to do. And then tomorrow they're going to probably start fresh and start really deliberating.
I hope that rain ends for them so they can watch some fireworks tonight. We are live in Orlando, Florida. I'm Vinnie Politan. We are on top of the Casey Anthony murder case. The jury, finishing its first day of deliberations, will break it down. What a job by Linda Drain Burdick at the end of that closing argument today. Absolutely amazing. Judge Alex, Meg Strickler with me. They talk about what they did, what she was able to do, finishing with what we thought was the weakest part of the case, turning it around into the strength of the case, motive, and why it happened, Meg.
I was really impressed because I thought that initially Ashton talked too much today. So I was thinking the ship was going down. And then Linda Drain Burdick gets up, and we knew she was going to pull the female card, the mother, the But when she played that phone call, she could have ended it right then and there. And first degree.
Casey Anthony for who she was when this first happened, Judge Alex.
Yeah.
To me, it's so unusual to be able to do that in a courtroom. prosecutors were able to do that, show the jury, this is who Casey Anthony really is.
Absolutely. What she was doing was bringing them back to evidence they'd heard so long ago. Because when you have a case like this, and I tried a case that was 4.5 months long, it is hard for the jurors to remember what they heard. And that's when the closing becomes so critical, because the state has to piece everything and remind them of what they heard. You remember way back then when we heard these tapes, we were all talking about nobody can believe the reaction of this mother whose daughter drowned or was kidnapped or whatever. And for her to take her back, take the jury back and focus on, look at her. She's in jail. She knows her daughter is dead, whether you believe her version or not. She knows she's dead, and listen to this phone call with her mother. I want to talk to Tony. I don't want to talk to you guys. What do you mean I'm not helping?
Such a brat. She was such a brat on the phone. She was saying the F-bomb over and over and over to her mother, to her brother.
The last thing this jury hears is Casey Anthony. Casey Anthony dropping F-bombs at her parents, saying it's about me. Not about Kaylee, it's about me, me. Well, that's the motive, right? Bella Vita, the life that she can't have if she's a single mother responsible for that beautiful little girl. More Prime News straight ahead.